Shell, how did you do with the lip reading? I'm assuming that you can hear me now because I could see my microphone actually working this time. So I wasn't actually saying that much important. Anyway, I was just saying hi to Patricia, and Patricia just reminded me of that I was scheduling another live at 10 o'clock here, my time. So that would be in 2 hours time, minus 5 minutes, the same time as Mr. Bartkay is having his live stream. I'm doing another live stream in the private Facebook group for everyone who's taking part of the 30-day no sugar challenge. So that's just going to be an informal little chat and catch up with the guys who are doing that. So for those of you who are taking part of that challenge, you can just pop into the Facebook group and have a little chat with me later. All right. So I'm assuming that you can hear me now. No, you were not going deaf, Shell, but I'm wondering if you actually could read my lips. So Necrokitty misses eating peeps. Okay. A marshmallow candy. That sounds lovely. It's funny because you guys are talking about something I don't even know what it is, but that's fine. So he's doing things backwards as always. Luke, glad to have you here. No walkies today for you. Not during my live stream anyway. Oh my god, he's always so fucking shouty, isn't he? I said F word. No, I can't hear you. Yeah. So Luke mentioned something about opening the avatar picture of someone in chat into window URL hacking address to confirm the profile. That sounds very advanced. I didn't actually have time to look at his hair because I was looking at the microphone settings, but it seems to be working now. Yeah, exactly. Let's build the muscle without sound. Good, good, good. Yeah. I thought that was it. My starch base diet finally had me deaf, but I'm off the hook for now. Yes, look, you're doing it all wrong. I might have to remove your privileges as a moderator. Marshmallow shaped like baby chicks. It's traditional for Easter. Okay. In Sweden, we do marzipan chickens and stuff for Easter, but Easter is kind of gone. Rest day. Yay. Okay, that's good. Okay, so it seems like everything's good, and I think we can go. So I'm not going to talk for that long today because, I mean, we could probably sit and talk about things forever when it comes to fasting and growth hormone and all that sort of thing, but I'm not going to do that. So I'll just talk for a little bit. I'll show you a few figures, and then we can discuss. And please let me know what you have done, what you have looked into yourself, what you've tried, what works, what doesn't work, etc. So I'm just going to talk about whether you can build muscle while you're fasting, or whether you need to be scared of fasting if you're trying to put a lot of muscle mass on. Because I know a lot of people, I see a lot of people being really scared of fasting, and they think that they have to eat 2 or 3 meals per day at least, or a huge amount of food to be able to put muscle on. And to some extent, it's true that there is a reason why bodybuilders are eating massive amounts of food, because if you are in such an anabolic state, you will put mass on, and that is not just muscle mass, that is also fat mass. And then they go and lean out, and they're on some extreme low calorie diet for a period of time where they will lose most of the fat and also an amount of muscle. But for them, it works better and it's quicker to put everything on and then lean down. But that is not really a healthy way of doing it, and I don't think that is what we're doing on this channel anyway. Most of us are here for our health, so from that perspective, I wouldn't advise you to do anything like that. So first of all, most of the beneficial effects that we see when we are fasting, it comes from the hormonal response to not eating. It doesn't have that much to do with the reduction of calories. Sure, if you don't get any calories, you're obviously not going to be able to put any fat mass on or anything on, but it's the hormonal response to the deprivation, if you like, that is the key to what is actually happening. So if you don't put any proteins in, obviously you can't build any muscle at that time, because where would you get them from? But it is a little bit more complicated than that. So if we are that simple-minded that that's how far we're going to think about this, then sure, don't fast. But it's a lot more to the story than that. So in the end of the day, we go through anabolic and catabolic cycles every single day. And what most people are interested in is the net effect. So we are going to build up for a certain period of time each day. We're going to break down things for a certain period of time each day. And what do we have left in the end of the day? That's what we want to know, because you can't just pinpoint a single moment and take that as what's been happening. So how much muscle can we put on within a given time frame, not how much muscle do I put on in a single day? Because if you were doing that and you're fasting, you're not going to put any muscle on a day when you're fasting, pretty much. You can prevent muscle loss, absolutely. And you do prevent it much better with fasting than you do with a low carbohydrate diet. Oh, sorry, so a low calorie diet, not a low carbohydrate diet, a low calorie diet. So fasting is actually better to preserve muscle than going on a low calorie diet. But that's a different story. So when it comes to the hormonal changes, so there are some noticeable changes that happen very quickly and quite drastically, and that would be insulin, which will decrease. And insulin, as you know, is an anabolic hormone, so it will help building up. So that will decrease, which means that we're not going to have the same help from insulin to build up any mass of any kind. And that makes sense because we're not eating any food. So where will we get the building material from anyway? And then we have a bunch of regulatory responses that happen as well. So that would be an increase in noradrenaline or norepinephrine, depending on where in the world you are, cortisol, and growth hormone. So what these hormones do together is that they increase the blood glucose when you are not eating any blood glucose. So this is the typical dawn phenomenon that you see in the morning. You haven't been eating all night, so you've been fasting all night. Your blood sugar will rise early in the morning, and that is because you have the noradrenaline and the cortisol and the growth hormone spurt in the morning, and they will just help to release all that glucose so that you will wake up and be ready for going on hunting or whatever you do. So if it doesn't happen, you probably have some problems with your hormones. Something is not quite right there. So then you might want to look into that. But that is what should be happening. And I actually measured my, just for fun, I just took around the morning when I felt extra groggy, because usually I'm not, but I was really, really tired and didn't feel quite well. So I thought, I wonder if I'm failing to raise my blood sugar, but it was actually 4.8 and my normal blood sugar is 4.2. So it was elevated, and that was at 5:45 a.m. in the morning. So that seems to be working. Anyway, let's talk about human growth hormone or growth hormone. I'm going to use them as interchangeably. It's the same thing for me. So what are the benefits and how does fasting actually affect growth hormone? So before we start that, I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat and see if anything's going on there. If you have any questions or anything. Okay, this is a great topic considering I'm on day 3 of fasting. Good. I'm going to tell you something interesting about day 3. Eli, we will get to that. If I tell you now, you won't be able to stay to the end because then you already know the answers. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to give you my answer and my reason for saying what I'm saying. What's the world record for the fastest fast? I would say between bites when you're eating. I can't seem to build any abs, although I'm lean. It's just skin left and still no six-pack. Save me. You might have a six-pack under that skin. If there's excess skin, and then you might not see it. If it's, loose skin on top of your abs, it's going to be hard to see them, isn't it? Are you quietly listening? Very good. Yeah. Yes, hit like. Do it. Okay. So let's continue then. So when we're testing what something is doing in the body, the absolutely best thing to do is either removing that from your body or increasing it, or preferably you do both. Then you will notice what is actually changing, what is happening when you're doing that. So if you remove growth hormone, or if they haven't actually removed growth hormone totally in humans, but what we can see in humans, if you are deficient in growth hormone, is that you will see a few different things. So one of them would be that you will end up with a much higher degree of body fat than people who are not deficient in growth hormone. You will have less lean body mass, as in less muscle, and also decreased bone mass. So those are the 3 big things that happens when you are deficient in growth hormone as an adult. So I'm not talking about growing children now, teenagers, that sort of thing, because they can get other problems. But if you are an adult and you don't have enough growth hormone, you will have more body fat, you will have less muscle mass, and you will have less bone mass, which all of those are obviously not desirable. Unfortunately, growth hormone is a hormone that is very unstable or short-lived. It has a very short half-life in your body. And it's created in your brain, actually, by the pituitary gland. And we need to somehow get our bodies to keep producing more of the growth hormone. And we need to do this consistently, because if we would, let's say we would supplement with growth hormone, what would happen is that we get that, the liver breaks it down really quickly, and then we're done with it, unless we're taking quite a lot. Okay. So one thing that I might want to mention as well before I keep going. So when we age, what's actually happening then? We usually get more fat mass, you usually have less muscle, and you get osteoporosis. So those are the 3 big signs of low growth hormone. So that is why people who are interested in, the longevity and anti-aging and that sort of thing are very, very interested in growth hormone for those 3 effects, because those are the clear signs that you are aging. Those are the things that are happening over a period of time, and eventually you're getting old and frail. And one other things that you might, when you look at someone's hand, people always say that you can tell the age when you look at people's hands, because your skin is getting thinner. So it's almost, on really old people, it gets almost like dry and frail, like papyrus or something like that. And that is actually another sign of low growth hormone as well. So let's have a little look at what, I'm going to share a document with you here, at what growth hormone actually does in the body. And this has nothing to do with fasting. This is just about growth hormone right now. Just keep that in mind. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is a very old paper from 1990, the New England Journal of Medicine. And I'm just going to, actually I'm going to scroll down to the interesting figures straight away and talk meanwhile. So I've just highlighted them there. So let's see. So this is a study from 1990, and they were giving growth hormone to men in the study between the age of 61 and 81 years old, and they compared them to a placebo group. So the group on the group number 1 is the one that is getting growth hormone. Group number 2 is the placebo group that doesn't get anything. So the group that got the biosynthetic human growth hormone received 0.03 milligrams of growth hormone per kilo of body weight, and they were injected subcutaneously. And they were doing this 3 times per week. And I did some calculations here. So based on the average weight of these participants, that would have been 2.3 to 2.4 milligrams of growth hormone that they injected them with. And a healthy, normal adult person produces roughly 0.4 milligrams per day. So you can tell that, you know, they got almost a week's dose every single time they had this injected. I'm not saying that is as efficient when you're injecting something as it is when you're producing it yourself, but obviously there was quite a bit of growth hormone that was going into these people. So what happened then is that the first group here, their weight in total didn't change that much. So this is the end of the baseline period, which was they just monitored them for 6 months basically. And this is the end of the treatment period, 6 months later, and their weight had changed with a kilo, or yeah, so not much at all. And the control group, their weight didn't change much either. But when you look at the lean body mass, so that would be the muscle mass, the group that got the growth hormone increased their lean body mass from 53 to 57 kilos. 7.7 actually. So that's 4.7 kilos more lean body mass in 6 months without doing anything else, without doing any exercise or anything, just from having more growth hormone. The other group actually put on a kilo of lean body mass. That might have been the placebo effect. I don't know. And then when you look at the adipose tissue, which is the fat tissue, the actual group reduced it with not quite 4 kilos, but not far from. And the other group reduced it with 1 kilo. So they replaced the 1 kilo of fat mass with muscle mass for some reason, even though they didn't get any human growth hormone. But there is quite a big difference there. So 6 months, no exercise, no nothing, no changing in anything, led to an increase of 8.8% in lean body mass and a decrease of adipose tissue with 14.4% when supplemented or injected with human growth hormone. And in addition to that, I didn't actually do that because they have done all these different measures here on the bone thickness. So I'm just going to give you the summary, and that is that they increase the bone density as well with 1.6%. So I think that's quite interesting. And what I was saying about the skin as well is that they also increase the skin thickness with 7.1%. and that is massive. That is quite a lot. So, you know, when people are having loose skin from fasting, or, you know, and not from fasting, from losing a lot of weight, not necessarily by fasting, and they fast, we always say that, you know, a lot of people might be able to get rid of this loose skin by autophagy. But maybe it's actually the growth hormone that is helping as well with tightening things up and building up more skin, or the skin thickness, and making the skin more functional again, if that makes any sense. So let me get rid of that again. So the same is actually true for women as well. I did find a study from 2002 that looked at both the women and men. The women were given both human growth hormone and estradiol, and these were all women who were postmenopausal. And what they could see was that women that got the hormone replacement therapy added 1.2 kilo of lean body mass, and if they got growth hormone only, they added 1 kilo of lean body mass. And when they got them together, they actually added these up and added 2.1 kilo of lean mass. So they work independently and together, and just gives you a very good result. So for those women who are not postmenopausal, maybe, you know, maybe just increasing your growth hormone will help you actually put on lean mass and get rid of the adipose tissue. So there doesn't seem to be a huge difference between the sexes, whether you're putting on or not, when you have enough growth hormone. And obviously they have a reduction in the fat mass as well. So if you ever doubted that whether it's worth looking after your own human growth hormone production, I think that should be your answer, because increased muscle mass is associated with increased longevity. So the more muscle mass you have, the longer you usually live. So one very good sign of someone who is going to pass is that the muscle mass has pretty much decreased and they're withering away. That's when a person is not very well, you know, functioning very well. And I think part of that is that it's not just your skeletal muscle, it's the internal muscles and your organ, and everything is just withering away when you are in that state. Let's get rid of that. So let's see what's happening in the chat now. Okay. Luke says, if you lose weight in fat metabolism, is it the fattest way to lose weight? What the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to ignore you, Luke, because I'm not sure that was a real question. Okay, Carnicore says, where the fasting may slow metabolism. I'm not going to talk about that today, Carnicore, but no, fasting will not slow your metabolism. There are countless of studies out there that shows that your metabolism doesn't slow down at all. And that is because of the hormonal response you're getting from fasting. So if you go on a low-calorie diet, you will slow your metabolism because you're still giving your body food, so it will continue to function the way that it does function. It will slow things down to be able to keep doing what it's doing, basically, but it will pull down on the body temperature. Maybe you will get tired because your body will want you to be as lazy as possible and conserve the energy that you actually get. But when you are fasting, you are triggering all these hormones, like I mentioned before, like the noradrenaline or norepinephrine and the cortisol, and all of that actually ups your metabolism. And the reason for that is that when you're fasting, it's really, really important that you have the energy to go and find the food that you need to survive. So your metabolism is not going to slow down. It's the opposite. It actually kind of almost revs up. To a point, if you go fasting for a month or 2 months, yes, that might happen, because at the end of the day, especially if you are very overweight, you probably don't have to worry so much about that because there will be a lot of energy. But if you are a lean person and you fast for 30 days, at some point your body is going to get all these warning signals that your body fat is getting really low, or this is not good, and you might actually go into a different stage. But it takes a little bit, unless you start fasting when you're very skinny, which I don't recommend anyone to do necessarily. And if you're very skinny and you want to fast, then I say try to kind of fatten up a little bit before you do that fast, if you want to do the fast for health reasons. Because if you're super skinny, you're kind of working against yourself a little bit. It's not ideal. So I wouldn't worry about slowing your metabolism with fasting at all. Necrokid says, I do want to know when you think I should quit my fast, considering I want to lose 80 pounds and I'm unlikely to fast often, but when I do feel like going for a long time. If your goal, Necro, is to lose weight and you feel fine fasting, I would just continue. I see no reason that, for you to stop it. I mean, at some point you will want to stop it probably, but I think we discussed this before, that you might be one of those people who have inflammatory hysteresis. And one way of resetting your insulin resistance, maybe, hopefully, is to fast. Because if you have nothing coming in, nothing but water, you're not going to be producing a lot of insulin as a response of that. You might be producing insulin as a response to your hormonal imbalance. Sure, but that is what you're actually working on when you're fasting. You're kind of calming that down and hopefully resetting it. So from that perspective, I say just keep going. If you feel good doing it, keep doing it. If you start feeling crappy, try to fix it, or, start eating again. Right. Yeah, I didn't sleep through the stream, working 7 days a week again. Oh, God. I think 5 days a week is bad enough. Actually, I'm working 7 days a week because here I am, live streaming on a Sunday and preparing the live stream on a Saturday. Okay. Monk mode, tired from work, but okay, otherwise having trouble getting in a multi-day fast mode. You are like the fasting godfather, monk mode, are you not? You shouldn't have trouble doing that. Where's the mustache? Yes, I need to have it's like here. Yes. Okay, Eli, I want to lose weight while preserving my lean mass. I'm 182 and I weigh 83 kilos with roughly 28% body fat. Would it be better to fast on alternate days for a couple of weeks, or to fast for 6 consecutive days? That's kind of an interesting question, because what do you do if you fast on alternate days? Do you mean that you go 24 hours and eat, and then you go another 24 hours, so you're doing OMAD? Or do you just mean that you're eating one day, then you're not eating at all next day, and then you're eating all day next day, etc.? In that case, I think 6 days is probably better. But I don't think anyone should spend any day of any week eating a whole day. So if you want to lose weight, you want to get your blood sugar and your insulin down. Okay. So when those are lower, you are able to burn body fat. If they're high, you can't really burn body fat. So if you were spending 24 hours, well, let's say 14 hours, 16 hours eating, and then the next day you're not eating at all. So you have 1 day of low blood sugar, 1 day of low insulin, and then you have 1 day of very high insulin and high blood sugar. You are going to get some effect. You're going to get fat burning on the days where you're not eating, but then you have, a fiesta the next day, and that is going to store fat again. So the net effect of that is probably not going to be a lot. So I would say it's probably better for you then to do 6 days. But even better than that is that you start, reducing the amount of meals that you have each day and increase the amount of time that you have without eating anything. So obviously anything up from 12 hours and upwards is preferable, and closer to 16 hours at least, I would say, to kind of promote the fat burning effect. And if you do that with a 6-day fast, you're probably going to, get some results there pretty quickly. We're going to look at some more numbers, Banks Supreme. So when fasting, how do you know that the growth hormone released is a net positive and not just neutral? So I guess when you say neutral, that it doesn't change. And I'm going to show you some figures that I pulled out that shows you that at least everyone in that study had an increase of growth hormone. Obviously, we're all individual people and we all respond in different ways and within different time frames. But what I can say is that we are all human and we have human bodies, and they do respond in the same way. It's just the amount of growth hormone or how quickly we respond that might change. Dry fasting versus snake juice fasting. I don't have any figures on that. I don't know if that will make a huge difference on the growth hormone personally. I don't dare to say yes, it will be better to dry fast. Dry fasting is better if you want to lose a lot of weight quickly, because you need the water from the fat to actually survive. But whether that is stimulating growth hormone more or not, I don't know. Okay. I find my tolerance to caffeine, cannabis, etc. is completely reset after dry fasting. How does dry fasting compare in the literature versus snake juice fasting? As I said, I haven't really looked at that. And so today I was actually just going to focus on the growth hormone anyway, but I don't think there are too many studies done on dry fasting. Probably are some, but whether they do the all the measurements, I don't know. I can't tell you. Okay, so PC says to Eli, I'm the same height and the same weight, did bulletproof coffee in the morning and OMAD at night, lost 10 kilos in 6 months, body fat now about 15% and quite good muscle definition. Can't see a 6-pack yet though. That's some impressive results. Good on you, PC. Okay, so monk mode, my fasting guru here. Dry fasting is rather extreme but hard on the kidneys. It does not tend to increase growth hormone. No, I wouldn't have thought so, but I don't have anything to back that up. Smash that like button. Yes, good. Okay, so let's continue then, and let's see. Okay, so before I share those figures that I had with you, so you might be thinking that maybe it's worth actually supplementing with growth hormone, because obviously we live in a society where we're like supplementing with everything, and just taking a pill, if we could do that would be great. But so those women that I mentioned that in the 2002 study, what I didn't mention is that 24 to 26% of the participants in this study also suffered side effects from the supplementation of growth hormone. And that would be things like edema, carpal tunnel syndrome, joint pain, all those kind of things. So it's not just positive, and just putting something into your body that doesn't belong there naturally is going to have an effect, and it's not always positive. So, you know, I wouldn't advise to supplement with anything unless you have to. So if you are deficient in something and you can supplement with it safely, sure, go for it. Why not? But when you can do things to increase your own human growth hormone production, why don't you do that rather than looking at supplements? That's all I have to say on that matter. So I think we should be focusing on our own production, and that is where fasting comes into this. So let's have a look at what happens when you're actually fasting, and especially with the growth hormone. So let's see if I can find that. No, okay. It's right. Just going to share this with you. I don't know if you can see this. It's not the best picture because this is photocopy from the beginning. So this is a table. These are different. So this is day 0, day 1, and day 5. And these are growth hormone peaks. These are maximal peaks, incremental peaks, and the mean growth hormone peaks. So what we can see, if you can see, because it's a bit fuzzy on my screen, so I imagine that it's quite fuzzy on yours, is that between day 0 and day 1, it goes from 5.8 to 7.3 and then up to 9.9 on day 5. For the maximal peaks of growth hormone, so that means growth hormone it's actually a pulsatile hormone, so it kind of is released in pulses. So they're measuring what's the maximum height of those peaks when it's released. And that has gone from 5.9 and on day 1, 13.1, and day 5, 12.3. So it's gone down slightly, the maximum peak. And what that is telling you is that even if you do a 24-hour fast, you will get quite a lot of growth hormone from just doing that. So your body will respond really quickly. So we don't have to fast for 30 days or a week or something to actually get the effect of growth hormone that we want if we want to build muscle. Okay? And this was the incremental. It goes from 5.7 to 11.9 and then down to 8.6. So that goes down a little bit as well. And then the mean is 0.3 up to 1.3 and then 3.4. So the mean is going up. Okay? I'm going to show you another one, which is I think is probably more interesting. Do that. And you can probably see this one better as well. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is the red box that I've made here is for the growth hormone. And this is a study. Obviously, they've been fasting for quite some time, over 30 days. So the pre-fast period is there before measurements, and then they have taken measurements at day 5, 12, 19, 26, 33, and 36. So what we can see with the pre-fast growth hormone, so for whoever I was asking about, how do we know that it's increasing? We can see, the increase is happening from the previous picture that I shown you. The increase is coming very, very quickly. So here we go from 0.73 as a baseline up to almost 3 in day 5. So that's quite a few 100% increase. And then it keeps rising up until day 26, when we seem to be having a maximum of 9.86 on average. And then it goes down again. And I think this is where, when I was talking about the body is kind of optimistic, and it will keep going and keep producing these hormones and giving you more energy so that you can go out and find food. And eventually it's just going to be, okay, we have we have been breaking down everything that we could break down, that we needed to keep the body alive, and now we are actually going towards the starvation mode. I'm not 100% sure about that is actually how it's working, but that's my best guess looking at these figures. So it seems like for these participants, day 26 is probably where it's at. After that, you don't get much effect. What I do want to say though, just keep this in mind, that the growth hormone is not going to do anything good for you unless you're eating. So to just have a lot of growth hormone but not eat is not going to build you any muscle. So what you want to do if you want to build muscle is that you are increasing your growth hormone and then you eat to get the effect of that growth hormone. That's why it's there, that it's there to rebuild your muscles and your immune system and all the other tissues that it has been breaking down during the fast. So the longer you fast, up until a point, the more growth hormone you're going to get and the bigger effect you're going to get when you start eating again. But also take into consideration the length of your fast. If you've been fasting for 26 days, you haven't been building any muscle for 26 days. That is a long period of time if you want to build muscle. So is it actually wise to fast for 3-4 weeks to get to that peak of growth hormone? Probably not if you are there, if you're doing it to increase your growth hormone. From a, from an anti-aging perspective, might be great. Maybe not. Not if you do that all the time. If you do it once and then you practice something like OMAD, yeah, might work really well. I also just put this in here, the glucose and the insulin. Just thought it was quite interesting. So glucose pre-fast was 96 and the insulin 13.5. And obviously glucose is going to go down, so it goes down after 5 days and then it's actually elevated. And this is correlating semi-well with what's going on with the probably with the glucagon and the epinephrine, etc. But you can see that it goes down in the beginning quite a lot, but then your body catches up and gets it up to the level that it actually wants it to be. But then here in the end, it seems to be dipping again. So this is actually quite low. And the insulin, same thing. It goes down very quickly and then it goes up a little bit and then it goes down and it stays low, and we want it to be low. What I find interesting though is that the post-fast period, once you start eating again, because you haven't been doing it, you're pretty much not used to releasing, your body is not used to doing this, so you will get a high glucose. I don't know what these people ate, but I suspect that they ate quite a lot of carbs when they started eating again. So they're actually getting elevated blood sugars. So if you fast for 36 days and then you start eating a lot again, your body is not going to be used to actually storing that. So there's an adaptation period. And obviously, after 12 days, you're down to 90. So what's happening is that you have like a temporary insulin resistance, as shown here as well. The insulin is quite high, so your body has to work quite hard to get it out of your system, and it doesn't seem to be working very well. Unfortunately, they didn't take the insulin here, but I suspect that the insulin has dropped again as well. But what we can see is 12 days after the fasting, you actually have a lower average blood sugar than you had before fasting. So that is a good thing. And I suspect you have a lower average insulin level as well. So let's see what you guys have to say now. What's the best food source for growth hormone? I don't think there is a food that will promote growth hormone, but there's a reason why bodybuilders like milk, etc. So that sort of thing. Okay, so I was gonna get to this, Eli. If you just hang on a second and I will talk about that. Yes, shush, monk mode. I'm getting to it. Yes, so the refeed is really important then. Okay, so before I answer your questions, I'm just going to go through this anyway and just finish up with what I wanted to say about it. So, as I mentioned before, as soon as you start fasting or you stop eating, you will see an increase in growth hormone over time, and that is going to go up. But you can see that even after 1 day, you will have quite a good increase in growth hormone, which is encouraging. And it's, you know, if you're fasting for, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, sure, it's going to be super high. But you can use that when you refeed, but I don't think it's going to make up for the 3-4 weeks that you have been fasting if you want to build muscle. So what I would personally do, if my goal was to build muscle, is that I'd probably do something up to 3 days, maybe once a month, maybe once every other month. If your goal is solely to build muscle, maybe 3 days is longer than you would want to do it. But I think that you would massively benefit from doing fast of 24 to 36 hours just to upregulate your growth hormone production, because that's what you want to do. You want to upregulate your own production. Now, I don't know how long it stays elevated for when you're just fasting 1 day, but it doesn't really matter that much because you're going to do another fast right after that. So I would eat after my training sessions on. So if I start day 1, I have a workout, then I eat after my training session, and then I fast until my next training session. So if that is from 24 hours from now, then I will have elevated growth hormone when I go in for my exercise session, and then I eat after that, and you will just get that boost from the growth hormone. I might throw in a longer fast here if I can. So let's say I was exercising in the morning 1 day, and let's say I ate my main meal at 10 a.m. or whatever, and then I was fasting until 4 p.m. the day after, or 5 p.m., had my exercise, and then a big meal after that. That way you could throw in something that is a little bit longer than 24 hours, but you still actually get 2 exercise sessions in 2 days. And then you might want to have a day off and not do any exercising. And you could go 2 ways about this. You could either, if you have been throwing in a slightly longer fast before, chances are that you have more growth hormone, human growth hormone, and the production is upregulated for now. And I suspect that it will be downregulated when you're eating consistently. So you might want to throw a few meals in there. You might want to eat 3 times that day and eat really well and eat high protein, moderately high fat, depending on what high protein is for you, but throw the fat in there as well. And then again, go for your fast. So this is obviously something that you would have to play around with, see what works for you. In the end of the day, if you can't eat enough energy to build the muscle, you're not going to build the muscle no matter how much growth hormone you have. So the power is A, in the refeeding, and B, in making sure that you're getting enough energy to actually build the muscle. Because if you're not, you can't build the muscle. You need the energy. So if you're like me, I can eat like maybe 300 grams of steak. And if I was doing that once a day, and I was doing OMAD, so I was fasting in between, I only had 1 meal per day, there's no way I would be able to build a lot of muscle. So if you're someone who can throw in 600 grams of steak in one sitting and a lot of fat on top of that, you might be fine. So it totally depends on who you are and how much protein you can actually throw in one sitting. So there are a lot of factors to consider. If, ideal scenario, I mean, take a couple of hours to do this as well. Because if you just eat everything at once, it might go to gluconeogenesis because you can't utilize all of that at once. So maybe after having had your refeed, after your training session, after your at least 24-hour fast, maybe have 2 meals. Maybe do it every 3 hours or something like that. So you don't have to do it right then during your refeed, but within a few hours, and just get all of that in. Yeah, so I think it's, can you gain muscle while fasting? Yes, you absolutely can. Can you do it while fasting long term, or, for a longer period of time? I think you're going to struggle. I think you can maintain your muscle mass. That is, the growth hormone preserves your muscle mass. So if you do a 3-week fast and you're trying to build muscle, you could see that as a building muscle holiday, if you like. So during these 3 weeks, you're probably not going to put any muscle on, but you don't necessarily lose muscle either. And when you refeed, you will get the effect. So that is all good. So if you are, sometimes people tend to overtrain a bit and you want to take a break, why not do a longer fast and then come back? Use that growth hormone and then go back to the gym and just do some very light exercise during your longer fast. That's what I would do anyway. Let's see what you have to say. Yeah, monk mode. Let monk mode know if you are interested in the Discord on fasting, or but the Nutrition Science Watchdog Discord. You can join them. Daniel says, I work at doing a fast. I haven't done a fast for about a month now. I'm due for one. I think I might do a 7-day fast for my next one. Nice. Yeah. What about gut healing via fasting, from either the idea of resting the gut and the idea of gut flora balancing? Yep, absolutely. Depending on, okay, so resting the gut is good. And I'm assuming that what's happening, what you're referring to there is that we're not putting anything in. So there's nothing that can, if you have a problem with your gut, obviously nothing that can upset it or cause any inflammation or anything, so that you give your gut time to heal. That can be good, absolutely. With regards to gut flora balancing, it can calm down if you have an imbalance, but it also depends on, what you're putting in when you start eating again. So if you are eating a certain way, and that way is feeding an imbalanced gut flora, or a gut flora that is not good for you, and then you keep eating that, when you break your fast, you're most likely to get it back again. Unless it was temporary and it was caused by some infection or something like that. In that case, you might be able to heal it that way. So yeah, I think that is a very good way of, calming things down. One of the things that can happen when you have gut flora issues is that you have an overgrowth of some sort of, fungi or bacteria or whatever it could be, and that can be taken care of with fasting as well. Because when you don't put any food in, all your bacteria are going to slow down. And if you then feed the ones that you want to have in your gut and that will do you good by eating good foods, they're going to come back stronger, and the pathogenic ones, or the not so favorable ones, are probably going to be dying. I did snake diet for some weeks. In fasting days, much muscle went from 35% to 33.5 to 34% on body scale. When I took creatine, it went back up. Okay, so 33.5 to 34% on a body scale you know what, if you're fasting, your insulin is going down, you're going to excrete more sodium, you're going to lose a lot of water weight. Muscle carries a lot of water. So when you are on the body scales and they are extremely inaccurate, so you could not tell 35 from 33 or 30%, I can assure you that. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference accurately to start with. If you drink a lot of water before going on that scales, you're going to get a better low lean and body mass reading than if you are dehydrated. So snake juice dieting is going to dehydrate you. What does creatine do? It binds water. So I don't believe that you had an actual effect from creatine and from the snake juice fasting. I think that is unfortunate, and that we're using scales like these to, and that we actually trust them. I'm sorry to say that. Okay. Thanks, Pim. I typically eat OMAD around lunchtime. That's why I'm cooking during Bart's lives. Good for you, Daniel. OMAD, perfect. That way you will get the best of two worlds. You will be able to eat all your food that you need. If you want to build muscle, you will be able to get that boost from the growth hormone. And there are lots of people out there that do OMAD and do a lot of exercise, and they look great. So I think that's proof enough. But you know, the science supports that. You want the growth hormone, you get it within 24 hours. Right. Oh yes, that's what I just said. But yes, impedance measures on body fat on scales are wildly inaccurate and not to be trusted. Absolutely not. Daniel, the six-pack starting to show up now. Yay, so right. Yeah, good on you. And you're doing OMAD. What can I say? And probably exercising then if you're doing that. And just a reminder for those of you who want to support this channel, I do have memberships now. So if you actually want to support this channel ongoingly, you can become a member for a very small fee and just be one of the crew. Or if you want to support the chat in any other way, you can make a donation down on Streamlabs on that little there. Or obviously you can super chat if you like. And I will be very happy for that. So just a reminder to all of you that that is entirely possible and very appreciated. Okay, so let's jump back and see what's next. They don't have good precision, but you can see a good pattern if you track it. Yes, you can see a good pattern, but as I said, if you're dehydrated, you will look more fat. And if you are well hydrated, it will look like you have gained more lean mass. Yeah, glycine and bone broth for gut are good too. And speaking of that, you could get some L-glutamine. That's also supposed to be good and healing for your gut. You can put that in your bone broth for all I know and drink that. Oh, thank you so much, Eli. I appreciate that. And I can't even see the super sticker on here. That sucks ass, but I do appreciate it anyway. There we go. That's what I said. That stores fat as fat. Water. Creatine helps for holding water, as you said, and thus helps preserve muscle at some point. If you keep excreting water and doing nothing, you lose muscle. Action camera. If you want to go and search the literature, you will see that people who fast for several weeks do not lose any muscle mass. And that is because the growth hormone is increasing a lot and it preserves the breakdown of muscle. This is a protective mechanism when you're fasting, because if we lost muscle when we're fasting, we would die pretty quickly. So what is happening first is that you will get into a stage of your body is going to reuse old proteins, so that is the autophagy. They're going to break down all proteins, and they might eat into some organs. They might shrink some organs for you. They obviously break down a large portion of the immune system, especially those cells that are damaged. They're old, they're not functioning well, and that goes for old cells. So that's why I'm saying they might shrink your organs, because they start to remove old cells that are not, functioning very well anymore. And another thing that is happening is, when I say that the organs can shrink, it's not just that we are degrading the cells, but the cells on their own might actually shrink and become smaller. So you have a breakdown of different organelles within the cells that are not necessary right now. So if we have a lot of proteins that are floating around because they're supposed to be doing things to keep your body going and building up, etc., and we don't need them right now, they're going to be broken down. And then when we start eating, we can produce those again. So this is all part of the recycling. So it takes quite some time before the body needs to go into the muscle mass. And that's just how it is. So you're not going to lose a lot of muscle, or any muscle, for the first few weeks, probably. Now, I don't recommend you to go a month without food if you want to build muscle, but the amount of muscle you're going to lose after a month is not going to be a lot. And if you fast for 7 days, you're probably not going to lose any muscle. As a matter of fact, once you refeed, if you refeed well, you might actually put muscle on, and that's what you want. So I don't really, I'm not sure why you say that holding water helps preserve muscle. I don't see why that would be the case. Why would holding water help preserve muscle? All it does is it makes the muscle swell up, and you look like you're bigger than you are. If you keep excreting water and doing nothing, you lose muscle. Excreting water has nothing to do with muscle loss. You might lose a volume, if that's what you're talking about, but you still have the same amount of muscle cells. You still have the same amount of strength, unless you're very dehydrated. But just, pumping your muscles full of water is not going to give you more muscle. It's just going to make it look like there is more and increase the volume. Necrokito, my body will grow the bacteria for digesting liver, raw milk, and burger patties, as that's going to be my first thing I eat after fasting. Good on you. I think that is a good idea. Absolutely. I mean, I know that you're good with your diet, Necrokito. I'm not questioning that, but what I was saying was more general, for anyone who's listening, how they would deal with it. Yay, 28 thumbs ups and 27 watching. It's a good average. It's because I was also giving it thumbs up. So it's 28. I'm not saying that creatine is worthless. Absolutely not. It doesn't preserve any muscle. Absolutely not. It has some phosphate, and it's, there are studies that say that it works. So I'm not saying it's useless. You can use it as an aid in, performance, and your ability to perform better will help you build more muscle. But the storing of fat, or the holding of the water in the muscle, is not going to do anything for you. So it's for a different purpose, and it has nothing to do with what you mentioned earlier. So no, it's not worthless. Absolutely not. And some people do see some effects, and they can actually, they have a better output when they go into an exercise routine or whatever they're doing. Many people feel like they get better pump, and whether that is just in their mind or not, it doesn't really matter. If you can lift more weight when you take creatine, go for it. If that's placebo, then it's placebo. I don't care. If I can lift more weight with taking creatine, and that is my goal, I would take it, as long as it's safe. And I do think creatine is safe. Here we go. Monkmo just agrees with everything I say. Is it useful as a phosphate donor? It does not by itself preserve muscle, no. Necrokitty, oh, I keep forgetting to mention Pim's advice on taking GABA before bed really helps. Thank you, Pim. Oh, I'm so glad. That is so cool. And I've experimented with that myself as well. And I think that I get used to it a little bit, but sometimes it feels like it's helping and then it stops helping and I just stop taking it and then I try it again. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm glad it's helping though. Action camera, because you can add more workout so you can build muscle. If you fast and do nothing because you're tired, then you just preserve muscle at the best. Action camera, have you ever fasted? And if so, were you actually tired? Because when you get all the noradrenaline and the adrenaline and all that going, you're not going to be tired. Many people are not even able to sleep when they're fasting because they get too much of these hormones. So when you say that you're tired, you just preserve muscle at best. Yes, you preserve it. Obviously, you're not going to build any muscle when you're fasting. And I'm not saying that you should be fasting for a week or longer. As I said, 3 days at maximum is probably what I would do if my goal was to build muscle. You don't have to do nothing because you're fasting. If it's the first time you fast and you've never done it before and you decide to go for a week's fast, the absolute first time you do it, maybe you will be tired. Maybe you will be really, feel really strange and maybe not feel very well at all. But you don't have to be that extreme. Monk mode is the fasting master, like ninja status. Yeah. Necrokitty, on the contrary, I finally screwed up on my dieting regime and I ate about a half gallon of keto ice cream over the course of a week, and that made me feel met and inspired my current fast. Well, it did something good then, because you've been telling me before that you can't really fast, so now you're on day 3, so I think that's really good. And, shit happens. You're human. We're all human. Made you feel meh. Good thing to know. Maybe you won't do, half a gallon of keto ice cream the next time. Luke says, I was impressed that even for a carb burner like me, working out fasted is pretty okay. Nothing to be scared of. No, the thing is that, well, it was a long time since I was kind of eating a lot of carbs, but I always feel better whether I'm eating more or less carbs doing workouts fasted. Because when you have a lot of food in your stomach, it's not very nice. And I remember when I used to work as a personal trainer and I was, instructing all sort of classes, etc. And I was doing like spinning classes and that sort of thing. And I used to do many of them every day. And obviously that meant that in between classes or wherever I was, I would usually eat something because I used to eat many times per day when I did that. And it doesn't feel good. I'm like the queen of hanging a stitch. Always like scared of eating too close to exercising because it doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't help me perform best. Actually, I perform a lot better when I haven't eaten. It's like your body's just changing. All the hormones are working with you and you just feel more alert and energetic. When you've been eating, you just go into this Zen mode and you just want to relax and digest and be lazy. But that's the opposite when you haven't eaten for a while. And I think that makes a huge difference. Daniel says, I definitely don't get tired from fasting. No, I don't. Action camera, short, 72 hours, tired, yes, can't sleep sometimes, but that does not mean you have the motivation to do workouts. No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. So that's interesting. Action camera, are you well adapted to fat burning? Do you know what's your diet like? Are you eating a lot of carbs? Because then maybe that could be why. It's so much easier to fast and feel well if your body is fat adapted and knows how to quickly swap to fat burning for energy. Shell says, fasting increases my energy, crazy good. Yeah. Necrokitty, no regrets on the ice cream. No, I'm sure it was good. And that's why we do it. Eli, I fasted for 3 weeks. The first 2 weeks were good. I wasn't tired. The third week was much tougher though. Couldn't walk for long and my heart started racing when I made some effort. Yeah, and that was kind of, that's where I would break the fast if it didn't feel good anymore. And it's probably your body just saying, you know what, I've had enough of this right now. So this actually happened to me when I was fasting for 7 days. That's the longest I have ever gone. I have never fasted longer than that. And for me, the toughest part is the mental part of not eating. But towards the end, I did get the racing heart and a lot of, I was not tired, but I did have a lot of dizziness going on randomly. Not so much when walking, but if I was just standing, I could get very dizzy. So it's quite funny how standing is worse than walking. But maybe it was a blood pressure issue. I do have low blood pressure. Low blood pressure. I can't even speak. Naturally, I've always had that my whole life. So Daniel says, I've been loving the sugar channel stuff, Pim. Thanks. You're welcome. So for those of you who are here who are not subscribed to the sugar channel, go and do that. So that is just the sugar channel. And I would really appreciate that to get the numbers up there. And it's mostly sugar related stuff there. I'm doing the 30-day challenge, no sugar challenge there right now. And there will be some other stuff coming up there with regards to sugar and carbohydrates probably once we have finished that. Well, one of the guys on the Discord just hit 50 plus days fasted. So yeah, I mean, for some people, 50 days more might be okay, especially if you're severely obese. You have plenty of fat to live on. You probably don't need to eat. You've already eaten for those 50 days in the past. That's how it works. Now, would I fast 50 days? No. I don't have that sort of body fat that I would probably feel okay fasting for 50 days plus. But we're all different, and there is actually some evidence that guys do better with long-term fasting than women do. Yeah, food makes you lazy. Yeah, I mean, it's natural when you're eating. You don't have to go out and hunt again, do you? You just want to digest it, and all the blood in your body is going to your stomach. So there is no extra blood or oxygen for your muscles or your brain either, for that matter. You're just an organism. You're just like digesting the food, and that's what matters right now. Before you eat them, though, there's nothing going on in your stomach. So what does it do when you're snacking throughout the day, when you're eating all day long? You're going to get lazy. You don't want to do anything. You don't have the energy. Whatever carnivore's done to me, it certainly fixed my ability to fast for the better. Well, that's awesome. It's great. And clearly you are doing better with that now, and you're clearly a pretty good fat burner then. Monk Mode, time for dinner, family call, and thanks, Pim. Have a good evening, and thanks for the stream. Thank you, Monk Mode. I appreciate your input. Enjoy your dinner. Action camera, 2 years keto, sleeping well, a small issue when I tried snake diet but went away. Okay, so what's your body fat like, action camera? Are you very lean? In that case, maybe you're not suited to fasting for a longer period of time. Just saying. Luke, fasting seems pretty much ideal if you simply want to lean out your physique quite quick and safe. Yeah. And as I said, you don't need to do it for more. I mean, do OMAD. If you are on a very, low body fat percentage, you can still do OMAD. That's not going to be a problem. It's going to be ideal if you can eat a lot of food. But your OMAD can mean that you have an eating window of 3 hours, whatever. So you can get a lot in. Trying to get my man off the sugar. He has to. He's being an ass. I'm trying to be supportive, but I want to smack him. Sigh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what it's like. The thing is that, what can you do? I mean, he's an adult person. He knows what he should be doing, and he doesn't want to. Probably because he is addicted to sugar or carbohydrates. That's, what other reason would anyone ever have to not wanting to get off the sugar? We all know that sugar isn't good for us. So when we say, oh no, I can't live without that, who is speaking then? That's the reptilian brain that is telling you that I can't survive without that because I need it. So, do what you can do. I would advise against nagging at him because that's probably not going to help. But if you are doing the shopping, you don't have to shop that sort of thing, do you? And obviously, if he's trying, be supportive, and maybe just reduce things for now. Maybe not go full out straight away, because that can be quite threatening to many people. Yeah. Right, so basically when I started keto, I lost 10 kilos, but now after 2 years, I got them back, mostly with keto carnivore, 80% fat. Okay. Maybe you're eating too much. Because if you're eating OMAD and you are keto carnivore, you're eating 80% fat. I'm assuming we're talking energy percent here now. I'm wondering, how much are you eating? Because it is still possible to eat too much. You can eat too much if you can't burn it. Having said that, it should be hard to eat too much, but what are you eating? How are you eating it? Sorry, I just saw Bob's comment there. Yeah, it's entirely possible to put weight on, but you would also kind of unless you know that you're eating a lot, I would start questioning what's going on there, what's happening hormonally, etc. I don't have the discipline to do OMAD yet. Are you working on your discipline, Necrokitty? That's very interesting. I think OMAD is, yeah, you need to be aware of what you're doing. But for me, I think it's actually not that hard to do. You might get hungry, but then you can just like, okay, I can wait another 2 hours, so you can kind of see the goal. You don't have to, restrict yourself. You're just like, okay, I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Shell. Oh my god, he's a jerk. Yes, he's addicted to sugar. He was diagnosed pre-diabetic. I've cleaned out everything per his request. He's trying to find excuses for eating the wrong shit, like apples and pizza. Yes. Okay. So he asked you to clean everything out, and now he's finding excuses to eat pizza and apples. I mean, ask this person, what's his excuse for eating pizza? It feels much better, doesn't it, in the moment? So he's probably, he wanted you to clean it out, and then when that happened, he's having withdrawal and he really wants it. And I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a jerk. He's just totally bloody addicted to those foods, and it doesn't feel good to him to cut them out like that. And he's gonna find some excuse, whatever that excuse is, that he needs the energy, or feeling tired, or he's depressed, or whatever, whatever will make him feel better to have that sort of thing. So maybe allow him to go a little bit slower and do it over time. Maybe you can do it. Does he do it every day? Does he do it several times per day? Try to cut it down a little bit at a time. Is undereating an issue if you have a bunch of fat on the body? Well, what is undereating? So undereating could be, you could undereat and be on a low-calorie diet and eat, several times per day, or you can undereat and you can do an OMAD, for example. Either way, I don't think undereating is ideal. But what is undereating? If you do OMAD, you're not going to have the same number of calories being undereating as if you're eating 3 meals per day with the same number of calories. So the reason for that is that if you're eating 3 times per day, and let's say you're eating 400 calories at every meal, you're going to be keep putting that sort of energy in 3 times per day. You're going to give your body the signal to store whatever is coming in. So you go into storage mode, and that is the insulin, etc. And you're not going to get the chance to burn the body fat for energy, because when you have insulin floating around in your body, you won't be able to access your stored body fat. So all you have is the energy that you're putting in. And this is not going to be enough to do whatever your body needs to be doing. So your basal metabolic rate is what you need. That's the amount of energy that you need to keep your body functioning the way that it does right now. So that is going to have to slow down so that the energy that you're eating is enough to keep up with it. But if you are eating once per day, you're eating one meal, you're eating 1,200 calories, you're going to have 1,200 calories that you can use right now when you're eating, and that is going to be stored as well. But for the rest of the day, your insulin is going to be low, and your blood sugar is going to be low or normal. And what that means is that your body is capable of accessing your stored body fat. So that will make up for the energy that you're not eating. So you're not going to be under eating as such, because you have enough energy when you're eating. And you give your body the ability to access your stored fats when you're just eating once per day. So when you say that this is, under eating, you need to be really clear about what under eating actually means. Under eating for the processes that you need your body to perform, yes, you're doing that in both those scenarios, but in the later scenario, you're actually getting enough energy because you're supplementing with your own body fat. In the first scenario, you're not able to access it because you have elevated insulin throughout the day because you're eating several times. But 3 times might not be quite enough, but still, if you're portioning it out, you're going to struggle to access enough fat in between. I hope that makes any sense. Let's see. God kväll Per, hur är läget? So we're just speaking some Swedish. Action camera. By the way, it's morning here. Yeah, I'm not tracking in more detail how many calories per week. I think I should be around 12 to 13,000 calories. Okay. Right. Trying to think, so that is less than 2,000 per day. Are you also tracking how much protein you're eating? Necrokita, I am naturally get more disciplined over time. It's easy when I'm not overwhelmed by doing it daily. I guess it's like a motivation. It took ice cream to get me so fast. But then, the ice cream had a purpose and it was all good. Pizza is not magic. No, I agree. But it's busted. Don't worry about it. I'm also a pizza lover. Yeah, I like teasing him for the pizza. So fasting is easier than OMAD for me. I don't know why. I think I know why. I sort of agree, because I think we were saying that not long ago. When we, I mean me and the Nutrition Science Watchdog, when we in this household are aiming to fast, and you're not going to do what you were planning on doing, it's going to end up with an OMAD, probably, and good food. Because the leap to go from fasting to eating 3 times per day and eating crap will be quite large. If you're aiming for OMAD, then you might go to 2MAD, or just eating all day. So it's usually easy to be extreme, because when you decided that you're not going to eat any food, it's kind of, you already excluded that. Okay, I'm not going to eat. But when you're doing an OMAD, you are going to eat. So it's kind of easy to just stretch the boundaries a little bit and start a little bit earlier and maybe start dabbling with this and that and that. And yeah, I kind of did an OMAD. It was just that it was 8 hours long. That sort of thing. So it's all psychological. Shell, no, it doesn't bite my head off every day just when he asks me, is this okay? Holds up an apple. You want to order pizza? Yeah, I hope your head is still in place. Let's see. Better to go all out and take some food vacation for a while. That's why fasting is much easier for me. Yeah. What's your opinion on the PE diet? Do you prefer more fat or more protein? Okay, so I think it's a shame that Harry isn't here, but I think we pretty much agree on that women might need a little bit more fat and men might need a little bit more protein. So what I was saying to, I think that was during our recording actually, because Harry is going to appear on my channel on Wednesday. I was asking him about this, and it seems to me that all carnivores, low carb, keto people who are promoting a high protein diet are men. And I think that is for a reason. So I think that, you know, for men, maybe go down towards 70% protein, maybe, but please don't take this as a rule. Try it, see where you feel best and where you do best. So not all women, in my opinion, need to eat 200 grams of fat or 80% fat or whatever it could be. Maybe some do okay with 70, some do okay with 75%, some do okay with 80%. You know, we're all different and we all function differently no matter what our sex is. But what I do think as a general rule is that women probably are feeling better when they're eating more protein as a percentage than men do. I see, thanks Pim. I'm not sure what you see. I don't know what they refer to, but I am glad that you see. Necro, I honestly think I was too malnourished, not fat adapted enough to fast a long time until recently. Yeah, that might have been the case, and that's fine. I mean, now you can do it, and that's a step forward, I think, and good for you. Per Eriksson, läget är bra, tack, good vibes. Bra. Varifrån, Per, var bor du? Hur är vädret där du är? Wherever that is, it's like, I'm going to speak Swinglish now. It's going to be confusing. I wonder if my yellow fat is turning white from the fasting. I don't know. Necrokitty. I have no clue. Where is the fat yellow and why does it turn white? Action camera with fasting, I tend to eat less. Don't feel so hungry. Do you mean after fasting? Or do you mean OMAD fasting? I'm not sure what you mean there. If you don't feel hungry, it's probably because you A, have some fat on your body, and B, you're really good at using it for energy. If you're very lean and you're fat adapted, you're still not going to have any reserves on your body, and then you're probably still going to be quite hungry. So that's how it should be working. Okay, vart i Stockholm? You have to tell me more. Hur är vädret? Har det blivit vår ännu? Yes, so that's Bart's Swedish. So apparently the weather is okay from... So Stockholm is still very cool. Or cold. Don't tell me you're speaking Skånska, because that would be funny. How south are you? Okay, so let's do some English. Reminds me of Norwegian. Well, it's not too dissimilar. But I'm outside now with pizza. Can you please open up the door? That's funny. Sorry, we are doing social distancing. You can't come in with the pizza. Okay, that's funny because when so Per is from Alvik in Bromma. When I grew up, I had a boyfriend who lived in Äppelviken, in close to Alvik. Well, that was the subway station. It's a very nice place right outside Stockholm, I think. Holland. Cool. Could fasting help to become fat adapted? Yes. So it's better if you're fat adapted before you go into a fast, obviously, because then you're going to feel better much quicker. If you're a sugar burner, you go into a fast, it's going to take you a few days to kind of upregulate enzymes that are involved in the fat burning, etc. And if your body's used to just using sugar, you are going to be tired in the beginning, and it's going to be a struggle. You're probably going to get a headache, etc. But by the end of it, you're absolutely going to be fat adapted. If it's just one day, no, you're probably not going to be fat adapted by the end of one day. If you do it for a week, you're definitely going to be much better fat adapted. If you're doing it for 3 days, yeah, you're probably going to be better fat adapted than you were going into the fast, but fully, probably not. So Bart is speaking rubbish Swedish, and he's also spelling it completely wrong. So I'm going to ignore that and go to Necrokitty. I'm bordering on hyper right now. Okay, but that's good, isn't it? We want to have some energy. Unless it's bedtime, then it might not be so good. So that's a common problem when people are fasting, that it's hard to sleep. But, you know, that's how it is. So that was actually the last comment here, and this is pretty good because those of you who are here who are doing my 30 days no sugar challenge, in 23 minutes I'm doing a Facebook live only for you in the Facebook group. And if you have any more questions with regards to today's talk or any other questions, please put them in right now so that I can answer them before we give up. Yeah, okay, so okay, so Bart, you need to be careful when you open the door because Kung Fu has left the pizza right outside. Yes, unfortunately I do too. It's just that he can't spell. And I don't even know why he said that because I wasn't rude at all, but there you go. Midday right now. Okay, so you shouldn't be sleeping anyway. Use that energy for something good. Exercise or clean the house or God knows. Or you can come here and you can clean my house. It would be great. Okay, so good people, thank you so much for showing up. I do appreciate you being here. Share my videos, share the channel, and on Wednesday morning my time we will have Harry coming on my channel, a pre-recorded one obviously since it's already happened, where he's talking a little bit about how we came to the nutritional guidelines that we have today, what's been going on, and you know why people think that a vegan diet is a good diet, etc., and where the misunderstandings, etc., around that is. So that's a pretty good one. If you like Harry, you definitely should tune in for that one. Harry is very intelligent and he has a lot of knowledge, so I think that you should be listening to that one. Okay, Harut. Hey, Pim, quick question. Why do people tend to feel cold while fasting? Okay, so people tend to feel cold while fasting is probably because they're not fully fat adapted to start with. So I think that is when your energy production is going down. And I suspect that is mostly a problem in the beginning of a fast. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll have to make something up and come up with a new theory. But when you're fasting, your energy metabolism isn't actually going down if you are burning fat well. So it shouldn't really happen. It happens more when you're on a low-calorie diet. Thanks, Pam, and everyone else. We should all send Bart emotive pizza boxes. Yes, that's not going to give him any cravings whatsoever, because everyone is talking about pizza constantly, so that's going to be on his mind. You're welcome. Sounds like a good one. Love Harry. Yes, we all love Harry. Harry's good. I like picking Harry's brain. It's awesome. Okay, so I think that was it then, unless Harut isn't quite happy with my explanation there, then you have to put a new comment in very quickly, because we are running out of comments. And we're running out of time as well. Kind of, we have 20 minutes to be fair, but I wouldn't mind a little break between my live stream. So yeah, just eat the pizza, but that means that I have to do it. And yeah, can't be asked, especially not today. And besides, I shouldn't be eating cheese anyway. And I had to go to shops for some cheese, and we don't want to do that. Thinking of fixing one necro. Okay, so thank you so much. I will see you again next Sunday. If you have any specific topic you want me to talk about, let me know. Otherwise, I'll make something up, or maybe if I can find a guest who wants to be on, I'll do that. All good. Cool. Thank you, Harut. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you then. Bye.